Stop trying to get it, and you'll have it. Listen closely. Every man chasing power is broadcasting his weakness. Every desperate grasp for respect is an admission of emptiness. You see them everywhere, clawing, begging, performing like trained animals for scraps of validation. They don't realize the game is rigged against those who play it openly. Machiavelli understood what most men never will. The moment you stop hunting, you become the apex predator. The lion doesn't chase the gazelle because he's hungry for its approval. He takes what's his because the entire savannah already knows who owns it. You want power? Stop reaching for it like a starving dog. You want respect? Stop asking permission to command it. The strongest position is the one that requires no position at all. Drop "I am untouchable" in the comments if you're ready to stop chasing and start claiming. Because here's the brutal truth they won't tell you. Neediness is the scent of prey, and you've been bleeding it into every room you enter. The weapon of detachment. You think caring less makes you cold? No, it makes you calculated. Every attachment you form becomes a chain someone else can pull. Every desperate desire becomes a lever they can use to move you like a puppet. Machiavelli didn't preach cruelty for entertainment. He preached detachment as armor. The man who needs nothing cannot be controlled. The man who wants nothing cannot be manipulated. Think about it. Your boss exploits your fear of unemployment. Your woman tests your fear of abandonment. Your competitors smell your hunger for validation and use it to destabilize you. They're all playing chess while you're bleeding emotions all over the board. Stop it. Detachment isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming untouchable. It's strategic indifference. You care about outcomes, not opinions. You invest in results, not reactions. When you stop needing their approval, their weapons become useless. When you stop fearing their rejection, their threats become noise. This is dark psychology at its finest. Appear emotionally available while remaining internally fortified. Let them think they affect you. Let them believe they matter. But behind your eyes, you're stone. Behind your smile, you're calculating 3 moves ahead. Comment: detachment is power if you understand this principle. The weak man reacts to everything. The strong man responds to nothing unless it serves his purpose. You've been taught that passion equals strength. Wrong. Passion is predictable. Detachment is dangerous. And danger commands respect in ways desperation never will. Here's your new operating system. Care deeply about your mission, not their perception of it. Love your goals, not their validation of them. The moment you internalize this, you become a force they can't touch because they have nothing you need, and that terrifies them. The illusion of effort. They lied to you about hard work. They told you effort equals results. That grinding yourself into dust proves your worth. That visible struggle earns respect. All lies. Strategic lies designed to keep you exhausted and controllable. Machiavelli knew better. He understood that power belongs to those who appear effortless, not those who advertise their suffering. Nobody respects the man drowning in his own desperation. They respect the man who makes impossible things look inevitable. Think about the most powerful people you know. Do they broadcast their struggle? Do they beg for recognition of their sacrifice? No, they move in silence. They execute with precision. They let results speak while others are still explaining their intentions. This is the Machiavellian edge. Never let them see you sweat. Never let them measure your effort because effort reveals limitation. The moment they see you straining, they know your ceiling. The moment they see you desperate, they know your breaking point. And they will use it. Drop effortless execution in the comments right now. Here's the tactical approach. Work brutally hard in private. Appear calm and collected in public. Let them wonder how you make it look so easy. Let them question whether you're even trying. This creates psychological distance. It builds mystique. It positions you as someone operating on a different level entirely. The struggling man is approachable, predictable, containable. The effortless man is enigmatic, unpredictable, uncontainable. Which one commands the room? You already know. Stop posting your 4 a.m. wake-up calls. Stop documenting every small win like you need witnesses. Stop performing productivity like it's a personality trait. Real power doesn't need an audience. Real strength doesn't require validation. You're not building a highlight reel for strangers. You're building an empire in silence. And when they finally see what you've constructed, they won't see the blueprint. They won't see the sleepless nights. They won't see the calculated risks and strategic failures. They'll only see the finished fortress, and they'll call it luck. Let them. Because while they're debating your methods, you're already 10 steps ahead. This is the paradox. The less effort you display, the more powerful you appear. The less you explain, the more they respect the outcome. Stop justifying. Stop explaining. Stop seeking credit for the process. Just deliver results and watch them scramble to understand how. The architecture of fear. Fear is the currency of control, and you've been spending it wrong your entire life. Most men fear rejection, failure, judgment, isolation. They organize their entire existence around avoiding these outcomes. This makes them slaves. Machiavelli understood a darker truth. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But here's what they don't teach you. The real power isn't in making others fear you. It's in making them fear losing access to you. Huge difference. The tyrant rules through terror and creates enemies. The strategist rules through scarcity and creates dependency. You don't need to threaten anyone. You just need to become so valuable that your absence creates anxiety, so competent that your departure creates chaos, so self-sufficient that your distance creates desperation. This is psychological warfare at its finest. When people fear losing you more than they fear confronting you, you own the dynamic. When your presence becomes a privilege instead of a guarantee, you control the frame. Stop being available to everyone. Stop responding immediately. Stop making yourself the solution to problems that aren't yours. Every time you rush to please, you devalue your currency. Every time you sacrifice your boundaries, you teach them you're negotiable. Comment: scarcity breeds value if this is hitting you. Now here's the tactical implementation. Withdraw attention from those who take it for granted, not out of pettiness, out of strategy. Create distance where there was once constant availability. Watch how quickly they recalibrate their respect. This works everywhere. In business, the consultant who's always free is never valued like the one who's booked for months. In relationships, the person who's always available becomes furniture, while the scarce one becomes priority. In social dynamics, the man who's everywhere is invisible, while the selective one is sought after. You've been taught that being helpful makes you valuable. Wrong. Being irreplaceable makes you valuable. Being helpful just makes you convenient. And convenient gets used, not respected. So here's your new framework. Be helpful on your terms. Be available on your schedule. Be generous when it aligns with your strategy, not their demands. This isn't cruelty, this is calibration. You're not rejecting people. You're training them to value your time, energy, and presence. And the beautiful irony, the less accessible you become, the more they want access. The less you explain yourself, the more they seek your approval. The less you need them, the more they need you. This is the architecture of fear working in your favor. You're not creating enemies. You're creating respect through strategic distance. You're building value through calculated scarcity. You're establishing power through disciplined boundaries. And the moment you master this, everything changes. Because now they're not wondering if they can control you. They're wondering if they can keep you. And that shift in psychology puts you exactly where Machiavelli always intended. In complete control without appearing to control anything at all. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. The mask of authenticity. They're selling you authenticity like it's a virtue. Be yourself. Show your vulnerability. Let them see the real you. It's a trap, and you've been walking into it your whole life. Here's what Machiavelli knew that your self-help gurus conveniently forget. Authenticity without strategy is just exploitable weakness. The world doesn't reward honesty. It rewards useful perception. Every successful person you admire is wearing a mask. Not because they're fake, because they're intelligent. They understand that different situations require different versions of themselves. The boardroom gets the confident strategist. The family gets the protective provider. The public gets the carefully curated persona. None of these are lies. They're tactical deployments of selective truth. This is dark psychology operating at the highest level. You're not being dishonest. You're being dimensionally aware. You're not lying. You're controlling the narrative. Think about it logically. When you reveal everything, you surrender all leverage. When you show every card, you eliminate negotiating power. When you expose every insecurity, you hand them the weapons to destroy you. Is that authentic? Or is that just stupid? Drop strategic authenticity in the comments if you're paying attention. The mask isn't about deception. It's about protection and precision. You don't owe everyone access to your full complexity. You don't owe strangers transparency into your struggles. You don't owe the world a real-time documentary of your internal process. Your thoughts are yours. Your fears are yours. Your doubts are yours. Share them strategically, or don't share them at all. Here's the framework. Reveal weakness only when it serves a purpose. Building specific rapport. Teaching a specific lesson. Achieving a specific outcome. Never reveal weakness out of neediness for connection or validation. That's the difference between strategic vulnerability and emotional incontinence. One builds bridges, the other builds targets on your back. The masculine stoic understands this instinctively. He's not emotionally unavailable. He's emotionally selective. He's not closed off. He's fortified. He shares depth with those who've earned it, not with everyone who asks for it. This creates layers, mystery, intrigue. The shallow people get the surface version. The worthy few get progressively deeper access. And nobody, absolutely nobody, gets the unfiltered, unstrategic, completely unguarded version. Because that version is reserved for the mirror and the journal, not the marketplace, not the battlefield, not the arena where wolves disguise themselves as sheep. You want to know why powerful people seem so controlled? It's not because they lack emotion, it's because they've mastered emotional distribution. They know which rooms get passion and which rooms get calculation, which conversations deserve honesty and which deserve polished performance, which people have earned transparency and which people have only earned courtesy. This is the mask of authenticity. Authentic in its intention, you're genuinely pursuing your mission. Strategic in its presentation, you're controlling how that mission is perceived. The weak man thinks removing the mask makes him brave. The strong man knows selecting the right mask makes him effective. And effectiveness, not authenticity, is what changes your reality. So stop confessing your limitations to people who are taking notes. Stop broadcasting your insecurities to audiences keeping score. Stop treating every interaction like a therapy session, where honesty is the only metric that matters. Honesty without wisdom is just ammunition for your enemies. Authenticity without strategy is just a faster route to exploitation. Wear the mask. Choose it carefully. Change it when necessary. And never apologize for protecting yourself while you build your empire. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. The calculated betrayal of expectation. They've built a cage for you out of their expectations. And you've been living in it, pretending it's freedom. Every time you act predictably, you give them control. Every time you meet their expectations, you reinforce their ability to manipulate you. Every time you stay in character, you surrender the element that separates predators from prey: unpredictability. Machiavelli understood this at a molecular level. The prince who is always merciful becomes exploitable. The prince who is always cruel becomes predictable. But the prince who shifts between both, based on strategic necessity, becomes unconquerable. This is the calculated betrayal of expectation, and it's the most dangerous weapon in your arsenal. People feel comfortable when they can predict you. Comfortable people take liberties. They push boundaries. They test limits. They assume tomorrow's version of you will tolerate what today's version accepted. That assumption is where you destroy them, not with violence, not with anger, with strategic inconsistency that recalibrates their entire perception of who you are and what you'll tolerate. Think about the people in your life right now. Your employer expects you to accept certain treatment. Your friends expect you to play a certain role. Your family expects you to maintain certain patterns. These expectations have become invisible chains, and the moment you violate them, chaos ensues. Good. Chaos is where you reclaim power. Comment unpredictable and untouchable if you're ready for this. Here's the framework. Identify where people have categorized you. The reliable one, the agreeable one, the one who always says yes, the one who never makes waves, the one who absorbs disrespect without retaliation. These are not personality traits. These are strategic weaknesses they've identified and exploited. Now weaponize the opposite, not permanently. That just creates a new predictable pattern. But strategically, the person who always agrees suddenly draws a hard line. The person who never complains suddenly walks away without explanation. The person who tolerates disrespect suddenly responds with disproportionate consequence. This creates psychological whiplash. They thought they knew the rules. You just changed the entire game. And here's the beautiful part. You don't owe them consistency. Consistency is a social contract you never signed. They demanded it. You accepted it. But acceptance isn't permanent unless you choose to make it so. Withdraw it whenever it stops serving you. Let's get tactical about this. In professional settings, the employee who occasionally refuses unreasonable demands with calm firmness gets more respect than the one who always complies. Why? Because refusal demonstrates boundaries, and boundaries communicate value. The person with no boundaries has no value. They're a resource to be extracted, not a person to be respected. In personal relationships, the person who sometimes chooses themselves over others' convenience maintains attraction and respect. The person who always sacrifices becomes invisible, taken for granted, eventually resented for their predictable weakness. Harsh truth? Yes. Accurate assessment of human nature? Absolutely. In social dynamics, the person who occasionally defies group consensus demonstrates independent thinking. The person who always agrees demonstrates followership. Leaders don't follow patterns, they break them when strategic. Here's what this looks like in practice. You've been the person who responds immediately to messages. Stop. Respond when you're ready, not when they demand it. You've been the person who explains every decision. Stop. Let your actions speak and your silence create questions you never answer. You've been the person who maintains peace at all costs. Stop. Let there be productive conflict that establishes new boundaries. Drop "I am the disruption" in the comments. But understand this critical nuance. Unpredictability without purpose is just chaos. Strategic unpredictability serves your mission. You're not being inconsistent to confuse people for entertainment. You're being selectively inconsistent to prevent exploitation and maintain positional advantage. There's a massive difference between chaotic instability and calculated recalibration. The unstable person changes based on emotion. The strategic person changes based on assessment. One is weakness pretending to be strength. The other is strength that doesn't need to pretend. You decide which one you are by deciding why you change, not just that you change. Now here's the dark psychology element they don't discuss. When you betray expectations strategically, you create cognitive dissonance in others. Their brain struggles to reconcile the old version of you with this new data. That struggle makes them uncomfortable. That discomfort makes them reevaluate everything they assumed about you. That reevaluation gives you the opportunity to reposition yourself in their mental hierarchy. Suddenly, you're not the predictable supporting character in their story. You're the unpredictable variable they need to account for. You've graduated from furniture to force, from background to threat, from controlled to controller. And you accomplish this not by demanding respect through words, but by commanding it through unexpected action. This is Machiavellian mastery. You don't announce your new boundaries, you enforce them through strategic violation of their expectations. You don't explain your new standards, you demonstrate them through calculated disruption of established patterns. You don't negotiate your value, you assert it by becoming someone they can no longer predict, control, or take for granted. The cage built from expectations only holds you if you keep performing the same tricks. The moment you refuse to be the trained animal they've categorized you as, the cage disappears, and they're left staring at something they thought they understood but clearly never did. That confusion is your freedom. That recalibration is your power. That betrayal of expectation is your evolution from controllable to untouchable. The economy of emotional investment. You're bleeding emotional currency into worthless exchanges, and it's bankrupting your power. Every reaction you give is a transaction. Every emotional response is an investment. And most of the time, you're investing in people and situations that will never generate a return. This is financial stupidity applied to psychology. You wouldn't dump money into a failing business, yet you dump emotional energy into people who consistently drain you. You wouldn't invest in stocks that only decline, yet you invest attention into situations that only deteriorate. You wouldn't keep feeding a machine that produces nothing, yet you keep feeding reactions to provocations designed to extract exactly that. Machiavelli would look at your emotional spending habits and call you what you are, strategically bankrupt. Time to audit your investments. Time to cut your losses. Time to become ruthlessly efficient with the most valuable currency you possess, your emotional energy. Here's the reality they don't want you to understand. Most people are emotional vampires operating on a simple business model. Extract reactions, create dependency, maintain control. They provoke, you react. They control the exchange. Your anger, your defense, your explanation, your justification, all of it is profit for them and loss for you. They spend nothing and gain everything. You spend everything and gain nothing. This is a transaction designed for your failure. Stop participating. Comment, emotional economy mastered right now. Let's talk about return on investment in emotional terms. High return investments, your mission, your growth, people who reciprocate energy, situations you can actually influence, relationships built on mutual elevation. These deserve your full emotional engagement because they multiply what you put in. Low return investments, arguments with strangers, explaining yourself to people who've already decided about you, defending your choices to those who benefit from your doubt, proving your worth to those who profit from your insecurity. These deserve zero emotional expenditure because they only extract and never return. Here's your new operating principle. Emotional scarcity creates emotional value. The person who reacts to everything is emotionally worthless because their reactions are guaranteed and therefore meaningless. The person who reacts to almost nothing makes every reaction significant because it's rare and therefore valuable. Think about gold. Why is it valuable? Scarcity. If gold were as common as dirt, nobody would treasure it. Your emotional responses work exactly the same way. Become rare, become selective, become someone whose emotional engagement is earned, not assumed. Now let's get brutally tactical about implementation. Someone insults you deliberately to provoke a reaction. Old you engages, defends, argues, proves their strategy works. New you, silence or indifference, making their provocation worthless because it generated zero return on their investment. They spent effort, you spent nothing. They look foolish, you look unshakable. Someone tries to guilt you into action that doesn't serve you. Old you feels the guilt, compromises your boundaries, reinforces their manipulation technique. New you recognizes the manipulation, declines without explanation, teaches them guilt no longer works as currency with you. They attempted purchase, you decline the transaction. They must find new strategies or find new targets. Either way, you win. Someone creates drama expecting you to participate. Old you enters the drama, feeds the chaos, validates their strategy. New you observes from distance, refuses entry, lets the drama consume itself without your fuel. Drama requires participants. Remove yourself and it starves. Drop "I invest wisely" in the comments. Here's the dark psychology principle underneath all of this. People treat you based on what you've trained them to expect. If you've historically given emotional reactions freely, they expect unlimited access to your emotional state. If you've historically absorbed disrespect quietly, they expect continued tolerance. If you've historically explained yourself extensively, they expect continued justification. These expectations are debts you've created through poor emotional investing. Time to default on those debts. Not with announcement. Announcements are just more emotional expenditure. With action. With withdrawal. With strategic emotional austerity that forces complete recalibration of how they approach you. The first time you don't react to provocation, they'll escalate. This is them increasing investment, hoping to trigger your old pattern. Don't give it to them. The second time you don't engage with manipulation, they'll try different tactics. This is them shopping for weaknesses. Show them none exist. The third time you maintain emotional discipline, they'll either respect your boundary or remove themselves from your life. Both outcomes are victories. Respect means recalibrated relationship on better terms. Removal means elimination of parasitic drain. You win either way. Now here's the advanced level most people never reach. Once you've mastered emotional withholding, you can strategically deploy emotional investment for maximum impact. The person who never shows emotion appears cold. The person who rarely shows emotion, but occasionally does, appears powerfully human in those moments. Strategic emotional investment, choosing precise moments to show care, anger, joy, or vulnerability, creates disproportionate impact because of its rarity. This is the difference between emotional incontinence and emotional marksmanship. One sprays reactions everywhere hoping something hits. The other takes careful aim and never misses. Which one commands respect? Which one maintains power? Which one creates the relationships, outcomes, and reality they actually want? You already know. So here's your assignment starting immediately. Audit.